Hello, boys and girls. Welcome to Mrs. Bandu's Math Movies. This is for Course 2, Lesson 6, Solving Percent Problems Using Equations. So previously we used proportions. Now we're going to be solving equations. Okay. So again, I'm just going to write a general formula here for you. Percent times the whole is equal to the part. So if you can remember this equation, you can use algebra to solve for any of the missing parts. We'll go through specifically each of the three kinds, the finding a percent, a part, and a whole, and then we'll talk through the algebra as well that is involved. Okay? So basically, what percent, so I don't know the percent, so that's n, of precedes the whole, so the whole is 25, is means equals, and 5 is the part. Okay, so what you do here is this gives you 25n, and they don't give me a lot of room here, so I'm not going to muddy it up by that. We'll talk about it in more detail down here. But basically what you get is 25n equals 5, and you're going to divide each side by 25. So n equals 0.2. And then the 0.2, since it asks for what percent, remember, we need to convert that to 20%. So 5 is 20% of 25. Okay, next one, finding a part. Again, just watch and just figure out placing in the pieces. We'll worry about the algebra in a moment. What is, so n is the what, is equals 20%, I want as a decimal or a fraction, I'm going to write a decimal right now, of means times, and then 25 is the whole, so it follows. Okay, so here I have part equals percent times whole. Just move the part to the left, that's all. Okay, in this case, since the variable is already alone, I just have to multiply, and n is 5. So 5 is 20% of 25. And finding a whole. 20% of what is 5. So again, 20% is 0.2 of what is the missing number, so times n, equals is 5, and 5 is the part. So 0.2n equals 5. I'm going to divide each side by 0.2, so my answer is 25. So 20% of 25 is 5. Basically, that was a quick run-through of the ideas of what you need to do here. The main thing is, if you can set up the equation, you can then use algebra to solve for anything. So that's what I'm counting on, the algebra, not memorizing which one looks like what. Okay, so let's look at number 1, finding a whole. In a school election, one candidate received 81 votes. This was 18% of the votes counted. How many votes were counted? And you have a multiple choice question. In words, basically, though, we want to know that 18% of the votes is 81, because this is, or was, so that means equals 81. 18% of the votes is 81. N is the number of votes counted. So I would use 0.18 times n equals 81. And I'm just going to rewrite it here. And then I'm going to divide each side by, so I get 0.18n equals 81. I'm going to divide each side by 1800ths, 0.18. And you'll need a calculator for that because, you know, you could do it otherwise, but it's kind of time consuming. So n is 450. So there were 450 votes cast, and the correct answer is choice C. Okay, so again, I filled in the parts that I knew. Percent of times, so percent times whole, all the votes counted, equals the part, 81. Okay. Okay, let's go here again. What number is 32% of 40? So we're going to say let n be the number, and it says some number is 32% of 40. So that tells us that N means equals 32%, I need as a decimal or a fraction, of its times 40. So in this case, since my variable is already isolated, it's simply a matter of multiplication. So I believe that's going to give me 12.8. Again, always, whoops, and I wrote 4 because I'm looking at 40 here. As always, you want to double check my computations and be sure that I wrote down what I said. Sometimes, you know, I mess up, so be sure. Always double check me. All right. Next question. Number 3, finding a percent. Of the 257 sandwiches sold at a delicatessen one day, 45 were turkey sandwiches. What percent of the sandwiches were turkey? Okay, so first we have an estimate. About 50 of the 250 were turkey. So for an estimate, you could do 50 over 250 equals 1/5, which is 20%. Okay? And again, this is just an estimate, so you know if your answer is going to be at least in the ballpark. Let's go, this is the part we're focusing on though. Write an equation. Let P equal the percent of sandwiches that are turkey. So remember, again, we have the percent times the whole equals the part. So my percent is, I don't know, but is P. So I'm going to say P is percent, and I'm going to do the 257 in the front. So this is whole times percent equals 45. So I get 257P equals 45. I need to divide each side by 257 to solve for P. Okay, when I do this, I get 0.17509, and I believe it continues on even from there. Okay, write the decimal as a percent. So that means, again, I'll move my decimal point 2 places to the right. So this is about 17.5%. So 17.5% is pretty close to my estimate of 20%. So although I'm not assured that it's right, I at least know my answer is reasonable. Okay, so again, the main thing you want to take from here is percent times whole equals the part, or whole times percent, however you want to think about that, equals the part. You have 3 quick checks. Please have those written out with your work and completed so that we can discuss them in class. See you soon.